Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Recreational Aviation Australia's first live stream for 2021. My name's Cody Calder, and tonight we'll be talking to Garmin about their range of portable products for pilots. Garmin was a proud sponsor of RAAUS's National Safety Month in October 2020, and we were lucky enough to be supplied with a D2 Delta pilot watch as one of our prizes in our Safety Month competitions. If you have any questions for Garmin this evening, please feel free to submit these on Facebook or via our website form underneath the live stream, and we'll attempt to respond to these at the end of the presentation. Just briefly before we kick off with Garmin, I'd like to remind members that this afternoon we issued an e-news with information about Air Services Australia's proposal for lowering of Class E airspace on the East Coast. We encourage members to share their views with us by emailing us at policy@raos.com.au, that email address at the bottom of the screen there. We'd love to know your thoughts on that proposal. Finally, for pilots operating in and around Ballina, please make sure that you read the important information in our e-news relating to the broadcast requirements which come into effect from tomorrow. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Miko from Garmin, who will be giving the presentation this evening. Good evening, Miko.
Good evening, Cody. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And welcome all. I'm Miko Koloma. I'm the regional sales manager for Garmin Aviation Products here in Australia and New Zealand as well. And I'm going to, in view of the recent safety month that RAAUS had, I was going to talk about some Garmin portable equipment and how they can enhance safety and so forth in aviation. So, yeah.
Wonderful. I'll leave you to it. And thanks again to Garmin for your sponsorship during National Safety Month.
No problem. Thank you. Right. So, yeah, like I mentioned, Miko Koloma, the aviation sales manager here, and I'm going to talk about the Garmin portable solutions. So let's get started here. What I'm going to be discussing are the Era 660 and the Era 760 portable GPS devices. I'm going to be talking about the GDL50, the Adsb in receiver, the Inreach devices, and then finally we're going to go through the various D2 pilot watches that we have on offer. An Era 660. So this is our sort of a startup GPS, if you wish. It is a 5-inch display with a capacitive touchscreen. So similar to your mobile phone devices, the screen has that same technology, so it's very responsive. Like all of our products, the Garmin Signature Direct to button is on the screen at all times. So if I point out some of the features here as I go along, so we have the Direct to button is shown on every screen of the device. It has wireless connectivity. Meaning that you can update databases wirelessly through your home Wi-Fi or any Wi-Fi. Also, it will wirelessly talk to a range of Garmin avionics and also the Garmin Pilot app. It can display Adsb traffic. For that, you will need an external receiver. And as part of that traffic, we have a thing called target trend and terminal traffic features, which I'll talk about a little bit later when I have some images of that. They can display geo-reference flight charts, as you can see on that picture there. We have some flight charts on view, and we do have coverage for Australian region. New Zealand region, if we have New Zealand pilots online at the moment. We are working towards getting chart data for Garmin devices that has coverage for New Zealand. Electronic flight bag capability. It will also log your flights, so it will automatically start a flight as it senses takeoff, and it will log pertinent data for that. And on landing, you can then review the data and record it to your proper logbooks. So here's some of the features I'll show you. So this display here is what we call the 3D vision. So it's like a pseudo synthetic vision, kind of shows you the aircraft from behind. It's in this mode, it's purely GPS based, so it doesn't actually show proper attitude, but it will just sense the aircraft moving, which heading and which direction the aircraft's moving and altitude and so forth, and it will display on here. This is a view of a safe taxi database. So quite a lot of the Australian airports now we have data for, and it will show you in this format. You can access the safe taxi kind of views by just zooming in on the moving map. And once you get sort of close enough to the airport, it will start showing up the taxiways and the runways. And it will show that, as you can see there, in circled the aircraft that will be you, and you'll see that moving about the airport. It also highlights things like holding points and taxiway numbers and any sort of safety areas, safety critical areas for that airport. Here is the traffic display. So I mentioned about the target trend just before, and what we're talking about is this sort of a trend vector that pops out from the front of the target, and that's based on, in this case, it's a 5-minute trend. So if you imagine those targets in 5 minutes time, they will be at the end of their green lines. So you get a very good indication of how the targets are moving in relative to you. And obviously, if those green vectors are kind of pointing towards you, then it's certainly something that you need to keep an eye on, as it might become a target intruder. We can overlay weather and traffic on the moving map. So here we can see a bit of weather shown there, and also if you look closer, we've got some traffic targets showing up on there. IFR, VFR charts, yes, certainly for the Australian region and New Zealand, we're working on it. So you can overlay like sectionals on here, and depending on the zoom level, it will show you the various types of sectionals, whether they're VMC, VTC, and so forth. And more. So there is so much more on these. As I move on to the Era 760, it's the big brother for the 660. It pretty much has the same. The 660 has the same features, so we'll see some extra pages on the that will also apply to the 660 as well. So just a quick recap on this. So a 5-inch capacitive touchscreen. It has a crisp 480 by 800 resolution. It only weighs 245 grams. It has the SD card slot and a mini USB slots, a port. You can connect it to an external GPS antenna if you wish. Most of the time, the internal GPS antenna is sufficient, as is in a cockpit. But some aircraft may have perhaps a heated windscreen or something like that that will prevent some of the GPS signals traveling through it. And in this case, an external antenna can be connected to it. The battery life is up to 6 hours on a single charge. It comes with a yoke mount and a cigarette lighter adapter, so you can power up through your aircraft cigarette lighter if you have one. And they retail roughly 1,300 Australian dollars. Right, the big brother, Era 760. So this was released roughly about a year ago. And it replaces the old 795, which was our first touchscreen device. So it's basically the same as the 660, some added features, but the major difference is the size. So it is our largest portable aviation GPS. Anyone who's played around with Garmin equipment, the modern Garmin equipment, will recognize the symbology that we use on all of our menu options and buttons. And going from any device, any of the modern devices, including the Garmin Pilot app, you will see that the symbols are identical, so it makes it easy to go from one device to another. We're just on the middle picture there just shows an active flight plan that you can input in there, and then on the right hand side just shows a basic moving map. So it's a 7-inch bright sunlight readable touchscreen display. It has a VFR and IFR capabilities, even though it's not obviously a certified IFR GPS, but it has got features that you could that mimic certified IFR GPS, including approaches. So that's one of the other differences between the 660 and the 760 is that the bigger brother, the 760, will support approaches. can display Adsb traffic, weather, and more. It also has a built-in AHARS sensor. So it has a little attitude and heading sensor on it built into it, which will become operational if the unit is kind of hard mounted in the panel. What I mean by hard mounted, it doesn't have to be screwed in there permanently, but in a cradle that holds it kind of steady within the aircraft, and not mounted on a yoke that moves around as you move the yoke about. It's also Wi-Fi capable for wireless internet, weather, and automatic data downloads. So as long as you have a mobile data connection to it, whether that's through your hotspotting through your mobile phone or something like that, you can actually you can update your weather through the internet, and it'll display on here. It also integrates with the select Garmin avionics, whether that's through wirelessly or hardwired, and up to 4 hours battery life on this. Here is a quick comparison on the size of the Aero 760 compared to the 760. Functions much like the 660. So we have here we have a basic moving map which shows terrain information as well as obstacles. So we have the terrain shading going on here, the yellows and the reds, as well as obstacles. So whether these are some sort of towers or high-rise buildings, and that data, the obstacle data, is now worldwide. So everyone in the world will get that. Will get the obstacles. We have our en route charts, so your sectionals. Also IFR moving maps. So if you want to filter out the topographical information out of it and fly like an IFR GPS, then this could be a sort of view you can use. Here is an example of a waypoint information. So we have we're pulling up in this case we're pulling up a frequency for an airport, and if this unit was connected to a Garmin VHF radio, it will actually auto tune that frequency for you. So that's another feature that it's good if you have a kind of a connected panel. But as you can see, you can we're looking at the waypoint pane. So over here we can get all sorts of information, the basic info of the in this case the Lakeland regional, the frequencies, the runway. It'll give you lengths and directions, the local weather if you're connected to the weather, and if you scroll down, there's actually more information down here. We have our basic moving map showing in this case showing the flight plan, and it looks like it also has an approach loaded into there for runway 26. But some of the other features on this, so all these kind of shaded out corners here with this information, these are actually customizable. So you can set those up as whatever information you want. It's kind of constantly shown on your moving map or on your display. And some of the other things we see here is we have airspace information. So if you were to touch one of those magenta airspaces, it will bring up information about that. Here we have a pretty much a moving map, but now we are overlaying an approach chart on it. So you can see that semi-opaque image there of like a paper chart, and it will overlay on the moving map. And again, the traffic information page and the safe taxi. Similar to the Aero 660 3D vision. So this one's, as you can see there, it says no attitude information. So you can get this without having any external AHARS input into it. However, if you do connect to an external AHARS, so attitude system, or you use the built-in AHARS of the Aero 760, then you can get this sort of pseudo panel. As you can see here, we have GPS based ground speed, GPS altitude, we have heading, track, and also deviation information, navigation information for your flight plan. So this could be an excellent kind of entry level into a class panel in your experimental aircraft. You can start with one of these, and that will pretty much do most of the things you need. I suppose you would need an actual airspeed indicator, but for VFR flight, this would be sufficient. I mentioned the flight log on the 660, so that the Aero 760 has the same. So we have some examples here. It shows you, it shows you the date, the aircraft tail number that you used to fly that flight, and then the where you left and where you landed, and also the timing. And if you were to press on any of those, you would get then more information about that flight. And what's in the box? So it comes with the actual unit, the mount cradle with the cigarette lighter power cable, a USB cable, and a USB-C cable, and a quick start manual. Sold separately, you can get a hardwire power cable, which you can hardwire into your aircraft power, and also a yoke mount if you wish to place it on the yoke. The Aero 760 retails at about 2,600 Australian dollars. Right, the GDL50 Adsb receiver. So here we are. Here we have the unit here. It's the size of I guess a large cigarette packet will be the closest one. On the right hand side of the image, where we have a picture from our Garmin Pilot app and the traffic page on that. So so the GDL50 can wirelessly supply information into an iPad or Android, running the Garmin Pilot app, and then display traffic accordingly, Adsb traffic. So it's a dual link Adsb traffic receiver. It has a built-in GPS as well. So you can also use that as a GPS source for example, an iPad, and that way the internal GPS is not running the iPad battery down. It is Connect capable, which means it can connect to Aero 660, Aero 760, the older Aero 796 or 795, as well as the Garmin Pilot, as I mentioned. It can provide GPS position data, and it also has an attitude sensor in it. So when I spoke about the synthetic vision on the Aero 760 and how you can use that as a pseudo panel, the GDL50 can be the attitude source for that. It has a built-in battery with up to 8 hours on a single charge. You can also connect it to the aircraft power through a cigarette lighter attachment and things like that. So like I mentioned about the attitude source, so we are showing the 3D vision on the 760 there, and also on the Garmin Pilot app, so you can get this kind of display. So if I was to move that, if I would pretend moving that GDL50 around, you would see the attitude move accordingly on the devices there. It can also interface to the Garmin G3X system, and the Garmin G3X system is a experimental and certified glass cockpit solution, and you can use the GDL50 then to provide traffic information of that. There's the size for it. It's not very big. It weighs 340 grams, and it's roughly 1,400 Australian dollars. It has a small built-in antenna at the back of it that kind of swivels up, but you can also, if need to be, you can connect external antennas to it. The unit on the bottom of the page here is the remote version. So that's something that if you want to permanently mount this in your aircraft, you can mount it behind the panel somewhere where it's hidden, and you just have to, in that case, you'll just have to connect it to aircraft power and also remote antenna for the GPS and the Adsb. In line with the safety aspects, well, I'm going to talk about the Inreach series. So this really points towards emergency situations, I guess. So the Garmin Inreach products are two-way satellite communicators. So they have an interactive SOS capability and two-way messaging. So you can't actually talk on them, but you can basically do SMS messages to anyone you want. It does require, since it's a satellite-based service, it does require subscription, and that's starting at about $20 a month. There's different levels of subscription, and some of those are kind of month by month, where you can do 1 month here and another month there, or you can sign up for 12 months continuous service. You can send and receive messages anywhere, so that's anywhere in the world. Being an Iridium satellite system, it has 100% global coverage. It includes a GPS receiver in them, and if you ever send a message from an Inreach device, part of that message will include your GPS location, your lat and long, and actually the receiver will, the person receiving the message will basically get a link which you can click on, and it'll show it on the map on their computer or on their telephone or wherever, the actual position where that message was sent from. It is impact resistant and water rated, water resistant as well, and also integrates with the Garmin Pilot app. So if you run this in your aircraft and you want to send someone a message, you can actually type the message on your Garmin Pilot app and then send it via the Inreach product. And a couple of different models that we have the Inreach Explorer Plus. So this is a GPS for tracking and navigation with a breadcrumb trackback trail. So this is really was initially designed for kind of outdoorsy lifestyle, hiking and such, and in remote areas. So you can actually use it as a navigator, and then has the satellite communication capability built into it with it. So it comes with a topographic map, built-in compass, barometric altimeter, and accelerometers. Has an internal rechargeable lithium battery and provides up to 100 hours of battery life in the tracking mode. The tracking mode, it's you can set that so it takes a snapshot of your location at certain intervals. And then also, if you have it in a power save mode, you'll get up to 30 days out of it. This one retails on our website for $699. The Inreach Mini, this is probably more pertinent to aviation, because this is really made for the emergency use, really. It only weighs 120 grams. It has a basic GPS and compass navigation. You can kind of see here it shows you a little bit of tracking information. The battery life, 50 hours in the default tracking mode, and 20 days in a power saver mode. To get the most out of this unit, you pair it up with the compatible smartphone or tablet, and you can type your messages on your phone, and then that will link with this device, and then send the message via the Iridium system to anywhere in the world. And vice versa for receiving, this device can receive the message and send it to your phone. Obviously, if your phone is out of battery, if you're in a remote area and your phone is out of battery, it does come up with some pre-programmed messages that you can send out, and obviously it has the SOS function over here, and if you trigger that, you will get emergency services come to you. This one retails at $529 on our website. Here's a bit of a SOS success story. So this was a Captain Lewis. He was an experienced pilot. In fact, he had his license. He had his pilot's license before driver's license, as the story goes. So he was flying his Super Cup in a remote area, and I assume that will be in northern Alaska or Canada, perhaps. Upon landing, the tail on one of the sides of the plane sunk into the snow. So basically, he was stuck. And he was stuck in a remote area. It wasn't really even a proper airport or anything like that he landed on. It was some sort of field, and he must have misjudged the thickness of the snow, and the plane got stuck. He texted his wife to let her know of the situation. So he used the Inreach device to send a normal text to his wife and tell him that, yeah, honey, I'm a little bit stuck here, and I should be getting this sorted soon. As the temperatures dropped, he realized that his feet his feet have been numb for about 10 hours now. So he's been there quite a while trying to dig out his plane out of the snowbank. And he realized that he's in a little bit of trouble. So what he did, he triggered the SOS. He pressed that little guarded switch on the Inreach device and alerted our operations center. A search and rescue team was dispatched and Captain Lewis was rescued. He had developed a severe frostbite on his hands and feet and a 3rd-degree frostbite on his right thumb. So he was lucky to make it out of there in the end. He later used the coordinates of the messages that he sent out. He used those coordinates later to retrieve the plane. So that was a story, a true story of a rescue that was triggered by the Garmin Inreach product. When I saw this slide myself when I was building this presentation, this kind of surprised me. So since 2014, we have had 4,100 real SOS incidents. And we are averaging about 3 a day worldwide. And during the summer of 2018, nearly 5 incidents were reported per day. And here is a map of SOS incidents in the last 365 days. So as you can see, majority of them are on the western US coast, I guess the Rockies over there. But as you can see, there's quite a few in Australia and New Zealand as well. Right. We're going to talk about the Garmin watches, the D2 Delta series watches. The D2 Delta, our aviator watch, the premium aviator watch in our range. It's a GPS watch with the wrist-based pulse ox. So it tracks your blood oxygen saturation, but that's only for the D2 Delta PX model, which is the black one next to it. As the aviation functions, it has a dynamic color mapping, weather, airport data, auto flight logging, alerts, connectivity with select avionics, and more. They can receive smart notifications from your phone, so much like the Apple Watch. So if you get a message, you can read it on the screen of this one as well. Or if you get a phone call, you can see who's calling and so forth. Like all Garmin watches, we always build in all of our sport functions. So we have a wrist-based heart rate, we have activity profile, fitness tracking, several different apps or widgets that we can use for different fitness activities. It can store and play up to 500 songs, which are actually stored on the watch. And you can connect this via Bluetooth into your audio panel if you have a Garmin or a Bluetooth audio panel or a Bluetooth headset. So you can play straight from this without running through your watch, through your phone. The battery life up to 20 days in the smartwatch mode. And then the other extreme is 18 hours if you're running the built-in GPS and the pulse ox continuously. So when you go flying with it, the GPS will activate and will track your flight. And in that mode, it's burning through the battery. But I mean, 18 hours is still plenty of time. And that battery life varies a little bit between the models and the settings. Some of the aviation features: the worldwide airport database. It has a barometric altimeter with adjustable baro setting. It has a 3-axis compass and a HSI feature, so heading horizontal situation indications, right? Multiple time zones, including Zulu. It can receive flight plans from the Garmin Pilot app. It has a direct-to function. So if you're in an emergency, you lost your avionics in your aircraft, you need to get to an airport, this will do it for you. You can punch in the designator of the airport and we'll give you guidance to it. A moving map with aviation airports, navigates, roads, bodies of water, and more. It has a waypoint information page. Like I mentioned, worldwide navigate and intersection databases and the in-flight pulse ox. So the in-flight pulse ox is on the Delta PX model, which is this black guy here. And as I mentioned, the fitness options: activity tracker, golf, heart rate monitor, running, outdoor recreation, cycling, swimming. here we have the 3 different models of the D2 Delta shown. So we starting at D2S, which is the white one with the rose gold bezel, and onto the D2 Delta, and then finally the D2 Delta PX, and the PX is the model with the pulse oximeter. The range starts at $1,349. And then our latest. So this is about 6 months ago. This was released. So D2 Air. We kind of realized that the D2 Delta can be a little bit pricey for some people. So we decided to go and make an aviation watch that's a little bit more affordable for people. It is our first aviation smartwatch with a touchscreen, whereas the other D2 Delta series watches use the 5 buttons around the bezel. This one actually has a full touchscreen and also buttons if you wish to use those. It is a AMOLED touchscreen display. It's a slim and stylish, displays airport, weather navigation, and more. You can also receive flight plans from the Garmin Pilot with this, and then navigate if you wish on your watch. Multiple time zones. Has a wrist-based plus pulse oximeter, and like all of our watches, fitness functions. Smart notifications, contactless pay. Contactless pay, you can instead of using your credit card or your phone to make a payment, you can actually make a payment through your watch. So you kind of hover the watch on the F4 sensor, and it'll pick up payment from there. And like the D2 Delta, it also has the music storage. With the AMOLED display, it's a little bit more battery hungry. So the battery life is up to 5 days on this. And I wear one of these myself, and it's roughly between 4 to 5 days, depending on how many activities you use or do that use the GPS really. The display itself, interactive touchscreen, it's very vibrant. AMOLED display. It's circular, 1.2 inches, which is what's that, about 40, something like 42 millimeters. It has a tough lens on it, and as it's a AMOLED display, what it does, it tends to shut off, much like the Apple Watch does, where if you're not using the watch, the display will shut off. You can actually on this, you can optionally turn it on, so it's constantly staying on. It's very lightweight, 45 grams. The bezel itself is stainless steel. It has quick release interchangeable band, so it comes with a black leather band, as you can see the lady's wearing on that, and also a black silicone band, which can be used if you want to go swimming or any sort of sport activities, and you want to save the leather from deteriorating. And there's also lots of different bands and colors available for purchase. For the aviation features, it has the navigation features, the airport information. You can access weather reports. It integrates with the Garmin Pilot, as can be seen in that photo. The fellow is using a Garmin Pilot on his phone. It auto flight logs, so it senses a change in barometric altitude, and it activates and starts logging the flight. And you can also have alerts and timers on it. And as for the fitness features, animated on-screen workouts. Since we got that sort of AMOLED display, we can get more graphical images on there. So you actually do animated on-screen workouts, which are quite funny to see a little stick man doing push-ups on your display. It comes with lots of preloaded sports apps. It has a built-in heart rate monitor. It is waterproof, up to 5 atmospheres. It has a Garmin coach, which has to do with the fitness functions and how you want to improve yourself, and you can also customize the workouts on that. And that is it. I went through this quite quickly, but as Cody mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, we can kind of hang around for a little while, and I can answer these questions live as they come through. Okay, so we already have a question here from Alan. The question is the biggest question with the Era 660. What database does it use? For example, the Garmin Pilot app database is missing many uncertified licensed aerodromes. So does the 660 use the same database or different one for regional Australia? Okay, good, excellent question, Alan. Thank you. Yes, so the Era 660 and the 760 for that matter use the same database as the Garmin Pilot. So as it stands at the moment, the authorized landing areas that you are referring to are not included. However, this is something that I'm working towards, and hopefully it won't be too long till we get the uncertified, unlicensed aerodromes onto not just the portable avionics, but all of our avionics, including the Garmin Pilot. Okay, Benny writes, are there any plans to release an ADSB device similar to the GDL50 that also does ADSB out? So ADSB out is a bit of a different animal to ADSB in. So receivers are simple and kind of economical to build that receive information. When you want to start transmitting that, it becomes quite technical and lack of a better word, expensive. So at the moment, we don't have a we're not planning on making a simple device that sends out ADSB out. So we have our own transponders, the GTX range of transponders that will do the ADSB out and in if you want to. So a question here from Mark, using the GDL50 remote with the G3X Touch, is there any point cabling in the GPS antenna? Given that the G3X Touch already has its own No need for that, unless you want to use that as a backup antenna. So the GDL50 shouldn't need the GPS antenna, as the data is already given by the G3 Touch. You could HV the overlays of weather on the other 660, 760. Sorry, really, I'm not sure what you could HV. I'm not sure what you mean by the HV. If we can get a clarification on that, perhaps. Oh, can you have weather overlay on the 60? Okay, so the 760, yes, the 760 uses internet weather. So in other words, if you have mobile data coverage, whether that's through your phone or other device, then you can hotspot the information onto the 760. So the 760 can access the internet and download weather info. So it can update in the air as well. The 60 can't do that. The 660 can't do that. Sorry. Regarding the airport info in the database, in the US, selecting airport info brings up facilities, AOPA airport guys, NOTAMs, nearby hotels. Not hugely comprehensive in Australia. I'd have to look into it personally. Let me just bring up this little machine here, which is basically Garmin Pilot, and let's have a look at it. I won't be able to easily show you straight on live here, but at least I can talk about it. So I've just pressed on, let's see what we got here. So at the moment, yes, we can see NOTAMs. What else we got here? What was the other ones? NOTAM, nearby hotels, all that sort of stuff. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, we don't get all those same features that we get in the US, basically because we don't have access to all the data. In the US, they're really good in compiling the AOPA airport guides, and we just don't have the same kind of data available to us. But I can see here NOTAMs is coming up. Weather, obviously. Services, yeah, there's very limited for those sort of so kind of non-aviation related services. No, so that's so Paul. Thank you, Paul. So does the Aira suffer from heat issues, i.e., shutdown like iPad? No, I was going to bring that up in my presentation there. So thank you for bringing that up. So that is the big differentiator between a purpose-built aviation GPS and kind of consumer electronics that are made for cooler atmospheres. So yes, no, the Aira does not overheat and shut down if it sits in the sunlight, basically, like some of the iPads can. Where will Garmin gear get Australian sectional charts? Now, so we have Garmin Avionics have had the capability to show air services provided sectional charts and also approach plates since the last Avalon. Was that 2018, 2019, was it? So a couple of years now that we have been able to display sectional charts. ADSB in, I guess, what device is required for ADSB in? So the GDL50 for ADSB in. If we're talking about ADSB out, which is the mandate, so we will be needing a GTX, one of the Garmin GTX devices. So there is a few different models, so depending on whether you're flying a certified aircraft and so forth. But I guess being an RAOS, we'll be mainly talking about kind of experimental light sport aircraft. And so the GTX 35, which is the ADSB out transponder, and then GTX 45, which is the ADSB in and out transponder. Can you please pop the website for your products? I like the watch. It's very smart. You mean, oh, okay, right. It's, yes, so Garmin.com. That's the, Cody, if you don't mind just typing in Garmin.com, and people can see that that's our website. In there, you can either search directly for the watch, or whichever model you want to look at, or any of our aviation products. There we go. Excellent.
All right, thank you very much, Miko. I think that's looking like we've got to the end of all the questions. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening.
No problems. And I was going to say earlier that if there is any, you can always send us questions, whether it's through Cody or through RAOS, or you can thread through you can find our links in the Garmin.com also. But if there's any want from people for me to do more of these sort of presentations with the more particular topics on any of our offerings, I'm happy to do that as well.
Perfect, thank you. And yes, members can reach out by either emailing safety@rals.com.au or media@rals.com.au. We'll be happy to forward through any questions that anyone else has. We do have one more question here from Mark. I'll pop that up on the screen.
Okay, does Garmin have an uncertified EC or our TABS device, I guess you mean, that sends ADSB out in accordance with the latest version of the CA? No. So our ADSB out systems are all based on a certified transponders, IFR certified transponders.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's the end of the questions for this evening. Once again, thank you for joining us this evening, Miko, and thanks again for the sponsorship throughout National Safety Month as well. That was very much appreciated.
Our pleasure.
And thank you very much for everyone who tuned in this evening. Once again, just a reminder that we are seeking interest from members to respond to Air Services Australia's proposal for lowering of Class E airspace on the East Coast. If you'd like to provide your feedback on that proposal, please email us at policy@raos.com.au. And of course, for members operating in and around Ballina, make sure you read the information in relation to the broadcast requirements which come into effect as of tomorrow. Once again, thank you for joining us at RAOS. Keep an eye out on your e-news correspondence for our next live stream event, which will be coming to you very shortly. Thank you.